This is the City of Waupaca, first Tuesday of the month, City Council meeting.
Welcome, everybody. We do have a public hearing that we're dealing with first, so we'll work with that. This is a public hearing as it deals with the ordinance amending the City of Waupaca year 2030 comprehensive plan, future land map use. I call this meeting to order, and in attendance, Sandy, you want to take attendance? Thanks.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Colin Dykstra.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Henry Veliker.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
Sandy, page 2 is the public notice of the public hearing, and I'm just going to have Jared explain exactly what that is.
Thank you, Mayor. So this comprehensive plan ordinance actually starts on page 50 of your packet. This is for a Waupaca Foundry project. Recently, they went through the process of sectioning off a parcel from their Brunner Drive Plant 2 site. With this parcel, they are hoping to activate that parcel by putting a multifamily complex on it that will benefit their employees. So they have gone through this process of sectioning off the parcel that has been approved through a certified survey map. They are now at the process, or at the point in the process where they need to do a rezoning to ensure that the zoning is conclusive to multifamily development. Through this rezoning, they do need to change the comprehensive plan, as the current comprehensive plan, future land use map, calls for this section to remain industrial. We need to switch that to a future land use that will accommodate multifamily. So we are switching that to neighborhood residential, I believe is what is quoted in the ordinance.
Neighborhood mixed use.
Neighborhood mixed use. I apologize. Thank you.
Yep. All right, thanks, Jared. At this time, then, we would take testimony in favor of this ordinance amending the comprehensive plan. Anybody that'd like to give testimony in favor, step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record. Limit your time to 3 minutes or less. Any testimony in favor of? All right, we'll take testimony in opposition. Any testimony in opposition? Hearing none, I'll declare this hearing closed at 6:25 p.m. All right, we'll go right into the city council meeting then. Welcome everybody to our regular city council meeting, first meeting in September 6th, 2022. It's 6:25 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order, and we'll do that by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and we'll have Sandy read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And take roll also for us.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Colin Dykstra.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan.
Here.
Henry Veliker.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Dimitri Martin.
Here.
Mary Fair. Here. And Eric Olson.
Here.
10 present. We have a quorum.
Thanks, Sandy. And you want to just introduce yourself, please?
I'm Sandy Stibbs, the city clerk.
Aaron Jensen, City Administrator.
Kathy Kaza, Finance Director.
Eric Bailey, Library Director.
Jared Reichu, Community and Economic Development.
Stephanie Reif, Assistant Finance Director.
Justin Behrens, Director of Public Works.
Laura Colbert, Parks and Rec Director.
Brian Hosell, Chief of Police.
And we also have Josh Werner, who is with us tonight, but he's in the background. All right, welcome everybody. Let's go right to the consent agenda. We have the consent agenda in front of you. Are there any items that council members or staff think that we need to have more discussion on those? If so, we would move those to the regular agenda and discuss those individually. If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Peterson, was it? Okay. That we approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Regular agenda, again, Sandy tells me that there's nothing new to put on there. So we will look for a motion to approve the regular agenda as printed.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have motion by Olson, second by Fair, that we approve the regular agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, we have some certificates of appreciation for three individuals. We have one is Lillian Summers, who works in the library, and this is her 5-year anniversary. And we do have a certificate for her, and Eric will make sure we get that to you. And would you give that to her, please? And then we also have another library employee, Taylor Wilcox, who has been with us for 10 years. And again, thank her for all of her good service. And then in Jared's office, we have Rhonda Rollins, who has been with the city for 30 years. So again, Jared, if you want to get the certificate to her, much appreciated. All right. Okay, let's go to public input. This is for non-agenda items. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the city council or staff on a non-agenda item? Again, if so, stand up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, limit your time to 3 minutes or less. Any public input? Under new business, we have the purchase of a Waupaca taxi vehicle under State of Wisconsin Human Service Vehicle Contract. Aaron, that's you.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. Council members, we have a memo on page 49 of the packet. This memo actually looks pretty similar to a memo we had last year at about this time, and that's because we have received a grant last year. We were approved in the 2021 capital borrow to replace a rear load van for the Waupaca taxi. Unfortunately, with supply and demand issues at that time, the state contract was not able to deliver on that as they did not have inventory. We just received another grant last week, or another award notification from the Wisconsin DOT that we are covered up to $54,000. So they also, we followed up with a phone call, and the rep with this program said, hey, try to get this approval from city council as fast as you can, because they do have inventory right now, but I don't know how long that will last. So we're here asking for approval for a purchase that is up to, from city money and from the 2021 borrow, would not exceed $13,000 as our share of that van. This would replace a 2015 Dodge rear-loading accessible minivan, which has over 150,000 miles on it. Again, this was set to be replaced last year, and we just couldn't with the issues with that. It is the same state-approved vendor, AJM Commercial, and that is all done through the state procurement process. The recommendation is to authorize and approve the purchase of a 2022 rear-loading accessible minivan from AJ Commercial for an amount not to exceed $65,000, with 80% of that covered by Wisconsin DOT capital grant funds and 20% covered by 2021 GO bond proceeds.
All right, you heard the recommendation. Do we have a motion to approve this?
I would make that in the form of a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Chestnut, that we approve the purchase of a 2022 rear-loading accessible minivan with the city's cost not to exceed $13,000. Any discussion? Go ahead, Dave.
Question just on the numbers. $65,000 for the vehicle, $54,000 by the award, 80%. We're getting 10%. Where's the other 10% going to come from, or what is it? And secondly, if it's 65,000 and you got 54 already, why do we need 13,000? We should only need 11,000.
So ours is 20%, is the 20% match, which would be the 13,000 of the 64. And that is a not to exceed amount. So it may not even come in that high, but we would like approval to spend up to 20% of the $64,000. Is that what I got?
65.
I'm sorry, 65.
Which 11,000.
Which would not exceed 13, I believe.
Well, 20%
Maybe
of
to
65
clarify.
is 13,000. So, yeah.
To clarify his question, the second paragraph on your memo says 10%, the bottom says 20. So I think what he's saying is that
I
he
saw
read
10% in
10%,
that first
but the bottom is 20%.
Well, Mr. Peterson, that is completely my fault. That 10% is misleading. That is a typo. It should be 20%.
So it's actually coming out of Aaron's pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Maybe, can we take this off the table? I'm sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And that would not exceed 13,000. Colin, thanks.
Can't.
for catching
We see 11,000 is the most it can be.
Yeah. Thank you.
Period.
Thanks, Dave, and thanks for the clarification, Colin and Aaron. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Scott.
Aaron, do we know what a van like this will cost? Or in this world, could it be possibly more than 65,000?
I can.
How does that work?
Well, I can tell you last year, we had an amount that was actually quoted when we got to the ordering process that was 40% under this.
Okay.
It was like 39,000.
Oh,
But since our award
we
is
should
up to
be-
that amount, we're just asking for the max.
We should be in the, okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Ready to vote? Sandy will call the roll.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Yes.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
and Mary Fair.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, before we move on, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the meeting, if you do have your cell phone with you tonight, make sure you either turn that to silent or turn it off completely, whichever. Anything embarrassing to happen. So let's move on then. We have an amendment to the City of Waupaca Year 2030 Comprehensive Plan. And this is actually the first reading because it is in ordinance form. And Jarrett, you want to just go through that again with us?
Yeah, of course. So this does start on page 50 of your packet. The resolution is on 51. This is a request to change the future land use map, which is part of our comprehensive plan, for a Waupaca Foundry parcel from industrial to neighborhood mixed use. The Waupaca Foundry does intend and has already sectioned off a portion of their Brunner Drive Plant 2 parcel in hopes of developing it into a multifamily development that will benefit their employees that work at that plant and also at Plant 1 here in the city. So as part of that process, they need to first go through a comprehensive plan amendment followed by a zoning change. Comprehensive plan amendment would have to come first before the zoning change, but they could happen at the same meeting.
Okay, so the first one that we had on here has to do with the amendment to the 2030 comprehensive plan, and we did have a public hearing on that. Jared has explained that to us, so we will take that up at our next meeting, September 20th meeting. Then we also have the zoning change, and you have more to add on that?
Nope, this would just be the second step. The zoning change would come after the comprehensive plan amendment.
Okay, and again, that's just first reading on the zoning change. Let's go to resolution number 1524. This is on resolution in recognition of Kurt Witkowski, Witkowski and Gail Sumi. They're from the League of Municipalities. They're both at retirement age, and they'll be leaving soon. And we were asked, and more than happy to put together a resolution, which is on page 65 of your packet, recognizing both of them for their great service to the league. And we've actually used the league many times over the years, and Kurt and Gail have been very helpful. So they'll be missed, and like I said, we're more than happy to put together a resolution, and Aaron or Sadie, make sure that this signed document gets back to the league. All right. Yeah, let's get a motion to approve this resolution.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Veliker, that we approve the resolution 1524. Any discussion? Sandy, will call the roll.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Henry Veliker.
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Dimitri Martin.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
And Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, we have license report number 1589. You can see that there are a number of names listed on page 66 of your packet. Again, the clerk's office is recommending that we approve this list of names. We would be looking for a motion.
So move.
I'll move. Second.
Motion by Fair, second by Peterson, that we approve license report number 1589. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Next up, resolution number 1523. This is a resolution renaming a dedicated public right-of-way from alleyway to Washington Court. Justin, you want to take this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So my resolution is shown on 67 of the packet, and then followed up with a legal description and then an aerial. So this resolution is needed as kind of the next step in renaming the alley. And that is detailed in the resolution. So a while ago, we vacated a portion of Main Street so that it made basically this alleyway have no outlet. Having conversations with the chief and other emergency personnel, we thought it was safest to give the alleyway a name, because right now there's two properties up there that have Main Street addresses, and that could be an issue for emergency responders. And then also it would just kind of clean things up, I guess, when in the survey realm and in the Waupaca County Register of Deeds office. So in this resolution, there's a lot of wording as far as the improvements we're going to make. We've already installed signage with the Danes home, finishing their improvements, like the turnaround will be complete then. We will install a sign on the corner of Washington Street and the new alley, which we're going to call Washington Court, a street sign, so that helps with all these issues. So this resolution is just I guess I keep thinking it's the first step. It's not the first step. It's just one of the middle steps. And then after this, we need to have an affidavit of correction where a surveyor will review all the nearby surveys that are done and then submit that to us and then the Waupaca County Register of Deeds. And then the next step after that is to notify those two residential units, give them new property addresses, and then obviously notify emergency personnel and the post office. And that's basically it. So that's the aerial there shows that's the alleyway we're talking about, just north of Granite Street, and the effect that removing a chunk of North Main Street has had on that area.
All right, anybody have any questions? All right, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve. Second.
Sorry, who, was it Dimitri? Yeah. Motion by Dimitri, second by Lori, that we approve resolution number 1523. It's a resolution renaming and dedicating public right-of-way from alleyway to Washington Court. Any discussion? Sandy, will call the roll?
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up is discussion on paving of the roads in Lakeside Memorial Cemetery.
Yes, me again. My memo is on page 70 of the packet, followed by, again, an aerial, because everybody likes looking at graphics, and then a proposal from American Asphalt. So this conversation started a long time ago with the previous Park and Rec director of adding this to the High and Harrison Street project, and that's what we think it is. So we reached out to American Asphalt to give us a proposal on repaving all those roads. And we feel that American was the best way to go about completing this because with the High and Harrison Street project, they won a competitive bid on a project that was close to $1 million. They're going to be paving over 2,000 tons of asphalt between High and Harrison and a few other spots they've already are going to be doing in the area. Having them come here and do this along with that project just means that we're going to get more done in a shorter time frame and at a efficient cost because we don't have to repay somebody to mobilize again, whether it's the same company or a different company at a different time. And that's basically the gist of that. Looking at their proposal, they gave us a few options to basically just pave over exactly what we had of just 2 inches, and then having 2.5 inches, and then adding 2 inches of gravel underneath of that. Talking with Roger Hansen, our street superintendent, we felt the best way is just to pulverize all the old asphalt that's there. Basically, that just grinds it up into a base. We add 2 more inches of new material on top of that. It all gets compacted down and then repave all brand new asphalt. And that should last for a number of years. It's been up there the way it is for many years. Not a lot of maintenance up there. So this would correct all those issues. So the request is to go ahead and with American Asphalt an amount of $71,670 with money coming out of the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund, which is a separate fund, a separate, spot where the money comes from. That is a combination of the new gravel, which is $7,200, and then 2.5 inches of asphalt, which is $64,470. If you're looking at the quote, that could be confused as they have a few different numbers on there.
So the total is going to be that $71,670.
Right.
That sound right?
Right.
Go ahead.
So this is just repaving existing, correct? Or
Right.
Are you going? What about I know there's gravel roads out there, gravel drives out there in the cemetery. Have you thought about paving those?
That is not included in this.
Was there discussion on getting some of those gravel roads that are out there paved?
That discussion did not come up, no.
Would it be a good idea to perhaps look
we can look into that for sure.
Henry, I'll go back to yours, Paul. But Henry, okay. Henry, you had a question?
I guess my question is, it's pretty narrow way. There's, graves right in the adjacent. Are you able to eke out any width with this at all, or is it just basically the same footprint, same
It's
width?
pretty much the same thing.
So, I mean, this is Lakeside Cemetery that we're talking about only. Has anybody reached out to the Catholic Cemetery to find out if they'd be interested in participating in this?
They are interested in, we're working with them right now to see if they can make it work. That would be a separate, that would be outside of the city.
They would pay for it
Yes.
themselves, I understand. So just, I had to remember this too. We think of that cemetery as one cemetery, but there's actually two cemeteries up there. There's the Lakeside Cemetery, which is closest to the lake, and then the Catholic Cemetery is further north of that. Okay, and so, Paul, I want to go back to Paul Higgins' question. So we're talking about, like, there are a couple of, like, alleys or whatever you want to call them that run through there. I don't even know how many there are. And are they dedicated, or they must be, because there are no stones there, gravestones. Yeah, I guess. So, Paul, are we okay? I mean, do it any way you want to, but are we okay with approving this tonight, but with Justin still doing some research? I mean, are you seeing that as, because they want to do it this year?
Oh, yeah, that would, what else? There's been sections added since these roads have been paved, haven't there?
No, not in Lakeside.
I don't think, I'm not familiar with the cemetery that much. That's more of a parks thing, but I don't believe a section has been added.
Well, I mean, when I was out there last time, because I have a couple spots out there, there was where the section where they're putting new graves, and that section was not paved, which is what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So Paul, I'm just looking at an more updated aerial right now. And I see exactly the spot you're talking about. There are a couple of stretches of, I want to say maybe 50 yards of where it really gets to be gravel and dirt. They don't loop around to anything. I think what Justin has shown on here is all of the loops in the traversable areas. Just an FYI.
Yeah, the only one I can remember actually is like down below a hill somewhere.
That's what I was thinking.
Where it cuts across,
So it doesn't really matter. I mean, they can be added at some other time. It just would seem efficient to do all of what is existing and what may have been added already.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I could look into what kind of extra that would be and report back.
Sure, that'd be great.
So we could get this ball rolling and then figure that out in the meantime.
Yep, sounds good. Anybody else? We need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Chestnut, second by Prochatsky, that we approve of American Asphalt of Wisconsin to repave Lakeside Memorial Cemetery roads for an amount not to exceed $71,670. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Colin.
Is there a way to stipulate in our agreement with them that if the work is started, it should be finished this year? Which is to say that they don't grind it up and leave it all winter?
I can get that in writing. I mean, that you'd make that part of the action, though?
Although when they grind it, they also compress it. right
They
away
com-
too.
They grind it up, then they compact it.
Yeah, so it'll be compacted. I get what you're saying, though. If they're gonna plow it, it would be awful to
Yeah,
plow.
that's my point.
Yeah,
I mean, the anticipation is to get it done this year.
right. So if we were to add to your motion, if you're okay with this, who made the motion?
Lori and then Scott.
And Scott, if we were just to add that it needs to be done by the end of 2022, you'd be okay with that?
I guess I'm not completely saying that. If there's a problem with their work schedule that they can't do it this year and they can do it next year, that's fine. But I think it would be in our best interest not to start it if they can't finish. That's my only point.
So you don't care if there's added to the motion?
But that's fine with me.
Okay.
But it's not, my point isn't that they,
They need to do the both together.
at either this year or next year, but not separately.
All right, all right. So we'll leave the motion as is. All right, any other discussion? Sandy, will call the roll.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Henry Velker,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Mary Fair.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, communications, recommendations of the mayor. Just a couple of reminders. We do have a committee of the whole meeting, which is dealing with transit and the TIFs. Right after this meeting tonight, no decisions will be made, but discussion on both tonight, part of the budget process. September 20th, we are looking at a regular city council meeting on September 20th. We're also looking to try and do, and we're still trying to figure this out, but the plan on September 20th is to do a regular city council meeting and then follow it with a committee of the whole meeting that deals just with personnel. Okay, but we do believe that the committee of the whole meeting is going to be a couple hours long. All right, so if we feel like the city council meeting is going to be more than an hour that night, we might look at doing those meetings separately. But if we feel like we can fit the agenda in there without rushing and without missing anything, we'll do it all on the same night. Okay, and then, again, we're still waiting on the developer, proposed developer for River North to bring a project forward, and we anticipate that soon, maybe even this week. So there will be a special meeting for that sometime in September. Again, we'll try and find a date where all of you can attend that meeting too. Okay, any other meetings? That's all city council members?
I don't think so. I think you covered them.
All right. Anything else? Anybody else have anything for tonight's meeting? I hear that congratulations to Lori Chestnut are in place. She's retiring from the county. Thursday is your last day, or is that just a party day?
Friday is my last day. The party's on Thursday.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
All right, we were looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Hagan,
Second.
second by Fair, that we adjourn until our next regular council meeting, which is Tuesday, September 20th, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. We're adjourned at 6:56 PM. Welcome, everybody, to the Committee of the Whole meeting. I'll call this Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. And in attendance, we have all of the council members as well as all of our staff is here that was also at the city council meeting prior to this. You have an agenda in front of you. That one addition to the agenda is Kathy put a handout on your desk. So that will deal with the transit and the TIFs, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's a paper version of some of that you have in your packet already too. But. So we're looking for a motion to approve with that one addition.
So move.
Motion by Olson, second by Chestnut, that we approve the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting with that one additional handout. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Let's go right into the fiscal year 2023 budget workshop session number 2, which has to deal with transit and TIF. And I think, Aaron, you're doing the transit first, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor Smith. So council members, this will be a little more expedited budget workshop than we had a week ago. The transit, I will explain kind of what's happening in that fund. And then Kathy will take us over the update on the TIFs, which we've also been talking about quite a bit here with the creation of TIF 11 and TIF 12 and the amendment of TIF 8. But if you can draw your attention to page 2 of the packet, there's a memo, and really I just have a couple of explanations on the federal and state grant programs on page 1. Kind of takes you through what those funding mechanisms are. Basically, those funding mechanisms make it possible for rural communities like us to have shared ride taxi program. Typically, those funding mechanisms cover in total 48 to 50% of the expenses associated with that. The last couple of years, we've been fortunate to realize increased funding mechanisms to about 75, 76%. And that's as a result of an influx of CARES dollars that got passed to this program, and municipalities received the benefit of that. So in 2021 and 2022, our numbers looked pretty favorable. In 2023, after speaking with the DOT, that CARES funding is supposed to go back down to normal levels, or I should say the CARES funding is going to be out, and the state and federal share will go back down to about that 50% level is what's anticipated, which we'll talk about in just a second. Another thing I think that's important to bring up is not only have we had an increase in revenues through state and federal grants, but we've also had an increase in revenues through the program lately. So in June you can see it here on page 2, through July of 2021, if you looked at our revenues from fares associated with ridership fares, 98,451. And then if you look at that same time frame in this year, it's a considerable increase. We're at almost $140,000, which also helps offset our costs. Each year, the city of Waupaca budgets $10,000 of levy money to help cover the costs not covered through the shared revenue from state and federal grants, and then also ridership revenue. And in 2021 and in 2022, we're expecting to basically see this build on a fund balance without us really even using the $10,000 of levy money to do that. So, because we are going to see decreasing shared revenue in 2023, we are recommending once again to budget the $10,000 as we have had pretty consistently. We hope that the revenues from the ridership continue to sustain themselves, but that's very difficult to project if they will or not. If they do, and if they stay at the levels they're at, we may have similar years in which we'll continue to build on fund balance, and that $10,000 isn't needed to close the gap. If not, we'll be sitting in a more typical year where that will be needed, but time will tell. The reason that's tough to project is a lot of it is tied in what's called agency fares, where it's programs that are tied with maybe Medicare, Medicaid, things like that, and they'll give vouchers to some of the people that have that, and those have increased a lot over the last couple of years. We're not quite sure if that's tied with CARES funding. We have had another agency provider move into the area that wasn't here in the past. So if they stay in the area, that could mean revenues will continue to stay up, maybe more than we've seen in the past. But again, hard to project that. You'll also see just an explanation on the capital grant program, which we just saw in the regular council meeting, how that works with the 80% share to help keep vehicles in good working order. So I won't get too much into that. I do have an attachment on here, and this just kind of gives you an idea of the breakdown. Now, this is 2022 numbers, but if you go to page 7 in your packet, you'll look at Tier C taxi. That would be our community and our size of community. And you'll see the funding in there. It's highlighted towards the bottom. And you can see projected operating expenses, what we take in for fare box revenues, which is that increased amount. Now, this one was projected, so you can see this doesn't reflect some of those increases we've seen. You can see typically what we've expected to pay, and we budget the $10,000 levy, but here we were projecting just over $4,000 closing that gap. Again, we'll be a little bit better than that this year in 2022. The other thing that I want to bring up that's important to note would be the projected operating expenses. So one thing that we do know is we are going to be entering year 5 of a 5-year agreement, in which years 3, 4, and 5 were all optional extensions. And with those, the increase in operating expenses is tied to the CPI for August. That is yet to be released. It'll be released, I think, September 14th it is. Right now, it's probably reasonable to think that maybe anywhere from 7 to 9.5%. But we will see in a few short weeks. The reason I bring that up is because we're budgeting for more going back to normal levels. It's probably also a good time this fall to look at potentially raising fares, fees associated with fares. Just for perspective, a quarter raise on fares is about that 8-point-some%. So you may see something very soon on that. And then the budget worksheet, this is your handout, and I can pull it up on here, and I can let Kathy go through this as she will plan to go through the TIF one as well.
Well, I thought you were going to do these numbers, but that's all right.
I can if you want me to.
I guess what I'm looking at is that this fund in the past has always had a deficit because of the shortness on funding. We do work with the Vets Home and providing ridership to an outside agency. They, because of their costs, have gone to that the resident has to pay for any recreational trips before the DVA used to pay for that. So we might see some fluctuation in those, but hopefully we'll see continued increase in the Vets Home for ridership and increasing, like Aaron said, with agency. We're looking, I just budgeted just a similar amount until we can find out what the CPI is in August. Again, will probably change in the final when we get some more numbers from the state. But right now, we're looking at a very good year in 22 to carry us into 23.
That's all I have. The only other thing I was going to mention, Mayor, was just a little info about the service. So the service hours Monday through Thursday, 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. They stop taking calls at 9:45 p.m. It is open on Fridays and Saturdays from 6:30 a.m. I should say Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. And then Sunday from 8 a.m. to about 4 p.m. And we'd be looking at similar hours next year.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Henry, go ahead.
R&R, are they still doing business?
Yeah, I don't
Really?
believe so, Henry. So I think that that's, one, depending on how many other providers are in the area, that could be something that impacts ridership. So,
Get my
yeah.
head out of the sand.
Anybody else have any
Positive.
questions?
More riders.
I was gonna look up on Facebook if they have an update. I don't really see anything. I still see the vehicles sitting up by Hardee's. Up
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
that's why I wondered.
Yeah,
I have a,
okay.
I have a question.
Colin, go ahead.
It was my understanding, and this is a little unrelated, not unrelated, but there was some sort of federal law that was passed recently. I was trying to look it up as we were discussing it, that people touted as being able to use grants in rural areas to help fund transportation efforts to get people to work. Is that competing with this program, or something similar to this program, or is it this program?
That may be additional funds.
Okay.
So that was just passed in this last law that was with the, not with the infrastructure, with
I think they call it the Inflation Reduction Act.
inflationary
What
law.
yeah.
There was some of that. We have to wait till it filters down
So it's
to
not here.
us to know whether
Okay.
or not that's going to be. But that would be something that, kind of like the broadband, where you can use broadband money to help with the transportation. This might also be part of the influx in the agency funds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
One more quick thing on that is Waupaca County and the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation did receive a large grant.
Oh, maybe that's where I read it.
To assist with that, transporting people to work specifically. I don't have all of the details on that. I can tell you it won't impact this fund
Okay.
or this service. But Jeff McCorsky, our director for the county, is going to come in October, and he's going to give a little more information on how that will impact the city.
Okay. Is that something you think will, maybe compete's the wrong word, but
No, we have talked about that in those board meetings, and that is one thing that he is reaching out to Waupaca Taxi, Brown Cab. It will not.
okay, thanks. I'll look
Yep.
forward to hearing more about it. Thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right, we ready for tips?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
All right, Tiff. The nice thing is you only have 3 sheets this time, because we only have 3 TIDs to budget for. There are no sheets for 11 and 12 there because there is no increment to report. If there is any expenses that we have, it would have to be just an advance from the general fund until an increment is generated in 2023, collected in 2024. So nothing on 11 and 12. Instead, we're going to start with TIF 4. TIF 4 is done with expenditures as of April of this year, so it cannot do any additional development agreements. It is continuing to fund TIF 10's downtown development for this year, and TIF 8 shortage for debt issuance. So it is still a very viable TIF. It is generating about $621,000 in increment, and has in 2023 its last debt payment for refinancing that we did. So it's in really good shape. What I am going to have to do in the future is that we would have to feather this balance out to TIF 8 to be able to go and do on the payback for the sewer and the water fund and the debt service fund. But right now, the numbers that are in there will totally refund the advance from the debt service fund, which was what we looked at it last committee of the whole. So the next one is TIF 8, and TIF 8 again is East Gateway. Its expenditure period ended in 2019. We are looking at it going all the way out to 2032. And as you can see, in 2024 will be the first payment to the water, sewer funds and their payback of their advance for infrastructure and debt. So we're looking at 2025 to be the first payment to debt service. And again, there's no, other than the Premier apartment building agreement that has to be paid up on this one. So we're looking at just working till the end, until everything's all paid back. The last one is TIF 10. This is Badger Street. And this one, we have till expenditure date till next year. So if anything has to happen within the next year to be able to. If that's the case, right now I'm just projecting out the increment going forward, just without any additional development. So it would probably generate an additional $290,000 worth of increment to be able to, if you looked at it without an additional development, that would be the minimum that this TIF would generate in increment to be able to be used for a project. So otherwise, I don't have anything else.
Henry, go ahead.
Are you at liberty to say anything about St. Mary Magdalene's Church? Is that kind of lukewarm, or is it done? Any discussion on that?
Yeah, there has been an interested party that staff has met with from a development standpoint, and I would expect that council will see something soon.
All right, so that's good timing, right? Because we only got a year to do something. Participate on something, okay.
Anybody else? Cal, go ahead.
For the TIF 8, it doesn't appear there's a large increase in general property taxes, but there's been a large increase in the number of houses out there. Am I reading that incorrect, or is that in your projections? Houses, and then also the, I guess it's not built yet, but the mini storage.
No, TIF 8, if you look at the tax levy on the first line, the increment was 162, it's now at 324. So that's the increment of the value of the houses.
The new houses.
And as those houses are completed, or if there's any more development in that area, then you'll see additional increment that can be used to pay back advance, pay off debt sooner, or for that.
Okay, thank you.
Another one that you could, there is another option for you, is that there is debt still in TIF 8 till 2025. There's a $470,000 coupon, a $485.5 million coupon. The savings would be minimal, but there would be definitely a savings would be to use some of the TIF 4 fund balance and pay off that debt sooner. But the best thing would be is to just keep it the way it is and use it to pay back the advances to the water and sewer, which will probably need the cash for their coverage for debt reserves. So this will help them.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? I think, you know, when you look at, and I'll just mention the one thing I did see, if you look at TIF number 8, it looks like our last payment on principal and interest is actually in 2025. So any monies that are owed then, the only monies that will be owed are just to the city, to the city's water, sewer, and the general fund.
Yes, any advances would be paid from any increment after that, so it wouldn't be debt.
So, come a long way, actually.
And at 2025, if there is no borrow for TIF 11 or 12, it'll just be all GO debt.
Henry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that council in the past years made some tough decisions on that TIF. Remember in 08 and 09, it was pretty bad. So you hung in there as a council, and finally, the vision I think everybody had out there is coming to fruition. It's just really great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's still plenty of land out there, too. So, for the best. Aaron, Kathy, anything else?
Not for me.
All right, be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Higgins. Second by Olson. That we adjourn this special committee of the whole meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against, say no. Motion carried. We are adjourned at 7:28.